Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Martinez. In the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us today, the host of Collider Jedi Council, Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? Probably the wrong direction to throw that one in. It is a day here full of news, and before we get to all the wonderful movie news, I want to let you guys know very exciting news. If you went to Collider.com, you already know this, but we have very exciting news here. As of today, we, Collider, have an app available to download and use on all Apple TV and Roku devices.
What?
Yep, this is what you do. You go, in order to find the app on Apple TV, you need to go to the App Store and search it by name, Collider Video. Go to Roku. You can search in the channel store by the name again, Collider Video. Add it to your account via the browser at the link. Go to Collider.com to get that link and go get that app. All right, who we got on the panel today?
All right, also joining us, the host of Collider Heroes, Jon Schnepp.
What's up, everybody, man? I can't wait to do that Boku box and the flippy scrimps,
Yeah.
whatever the TV
Scrimp,
things.
yeah.
They're awesome. Watch it on my screen when I'm eating food, hanging out in my pajamas. What's up?
Yes, Sloth Live. All right,
Yeah.
and from DC All Access, Jason Inman.
I'm always happy to be here on Movie Talk, although I'm sad that I didn't have a tennis ball to throw as well.
Yeah. just-
We can arrange that you can have a tennis ball.
Oh,
if you
very
want.
good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, what's up first?
Okay, in a new report from THR, it was revealed that Warner Brothers' Suicide Squad was under immense pressure from the very beginning as it sprinted to meet its predetermined release date, with writer-director David Ayer reportedly only having 6 weeks to write the script before camera started rolling. On top of that, THR claims that the studio was working on a competing cut of the film with the help of Trailer Park, the company behind the movie's popular teaser trailer. Part of the hands-on approach, THR says, was a result of the fallout from Batman v Superman receiving scathing reviews and coming up short at the box office. The studio's key concern was that Suicide Squad needed to deliver on the fun, edgy tone promised in that highly praised trailer. So, in trying to compromise Ayer's version and the upbeat tone from the trailer, the studio tried to do both. THR explains that in May, Ayer's more somber cut of the film and the studio preferred lighter cut were tested in North Carolina. An insider said, "If there are multiple opinions that aren't in sync, you go down multiple tracks, 2 tracks at least. That was the case here for a period of time, always trying to get to a place where you have consensus." Ayer reportedly agreed to and participated in this process, and in the end, the studio's favorite cut with the flashy graphics and characters introduced early on in the film came out on top and is the current version of the movie releasing in theaters tomorrow. Kristian, what do you make of the dueling cuts tested by Warner Brothers, and do you think Ayer's own cut would have done better with critics?
I do, actually, and I'll tell you why. Because this is just, for me, personally, I think that there's an understandable kind of concern for Warner Brothers where they have so many chips in right now for the DC cinematic universe. They haven't had, besides these franchises on the comic book side, they haven't been having great years. The last 2 years, their movies haven't been working. So they really need this to work. They want this to work. So I think it's a bit of a panic button sometimes. And when they see what happened with Batman v Superman, and they see some of the complaints, that they go, oh, wait a minute, let's get all these cooks in the kitchen, and you get David Ayer on, who has traditionally worked on the darker side of things in his films. So you see that first initial trailer at Comic-Con last year for Suicide Squad, you assume it's going to be a little darker, and you kind of need it to be, with some fun in it as well. But this, to me, seems like this second cut that they did was more studio notes. I bet you that if you got David Ayer alone in a room, and he would tell you, I think that I would have liked to done this, and this different, because some of the things that I saw in that particular film didn't feel like David Ayer to me. They felt like studio notes. I could be wrong, but I think that David Ayer's cut, I'd be very interested in seeing. Very similar to like the Donner cut back in the Superman days. What do you think, Jason?
It's interesting because I kind of understand why the studio did this, especially coming off of Batman v Superman, because what was everybody's major complaint out of that movie? That it was dark. So I could kind of see that the studio was like, no, let's not make another dark movie. Although at the other side of this, I mean, this is a movie about supervillains. So it has to have some darkness. I mean, I personally, I enjoyed what I saw of Suicide Squad. I thought it was a lot of fun. Did it have a lot of problems? Yes. So does a lot of other comic book movies. And yes, I work for DC, but my opinions are my own. I still like the movie, and nobody gave me a check for saying that. But You know, I don't know. I would hope that we actually see this other cut in a circumstance like on the Blu-ray, like we got to see the Ultimate Edition.
Right.
But I also want to have the theatrical cut as well, because I did enjoy it. I did have a fun time. And I totally understand the studio's concerns. We're like, we can't release 2 really dark, dour movies in a row.
I wonder about, I'm really interested to see this other cut. Now we have these dueling cuts. It's sort of unfortunate that we have this trigger, like Warner Brothers is like undecided about how they want to approach their cinematic universe, is how it feels to me. They're reactionary. They have David Ayer, who's a completely different director than Zack Snyder, and they hired him to do a job. And then because of the effect of another film, they took his film away and were like, we have to add this, we got to take this away, we got to do that. And to have dueling cuts is just probably a nightmare situation. So for myself, I also enjoyed the film. I really liked it. Yeah, there's issues, there's some problems with it, but overall I came out smiling. I was like, wow, that was a lot of fun. Very different than the theatrical version that I saw of Batman v Superman, but ultimately the ultimate cut, which is actually Zack Snyder's director's cut before studio interference, I really liked.
I like that better than the theatrical version too.
I didn't like the theatrical version, so I feel like Warner Brothers is kind of shooting themselves in their own foot. Leave the directors alone to make the goddamn film. That's how I feel about it. It's like, don't second guess all the creatives that you have because one of your films misfired because you didn't allow it to be what it was already. Well, it was a 3-hour cut.
Well,
and, it's like these decisions.
But isn't this turning to be a typical thing where you don't? It turns out to be a lot of times, and I hate to be this cliche thought, but like the suits kind of sitting around saying, well, wait a minute, the test audiences are saying this about this particular movie, so that's got to transfer over into this movie. And it's the same reason, I think, the same kind of mentality when you have when The Matrix came out and was a big hit, then everybody started doing the slow motion. Everybody started trying to make the next Matrix, and they didn't try to make the original thing. So I'm wondering if this is kind of bleeding into what happened here.
Dude, imagine if they did test audiences with The Matrix, what kind of crap we would have gotten.
Right.
I'm so sick of test audiences. Let the films be what they're going to be.
Trust the director.
Trust the writers and the directors and the crew to make it. You can have a test audience and listen to what they said, but usually you're when you have test audiences, you have just people coming in for a free film and they feel like they have to give you an opinion. Like, I loved it, but what didn't you like?
Right.
No, maybe change this one thing. You're forcing someone to say something negative. I can't stand test audiences.
And the other crazy thing about this is that we're having this conversation before the movie has been released nationwide.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know. This movie could go to open 140. This movie could blaze to $1 billion. We don't know, because I've actually seen some interviews, some live streams, some Facebook Lives, other screenings where people are interviewing people as they come out.
Yeah.
And the general audience, they're all like, cool, cool, cool. Right now, it kind of just seems like because only the critics have really seen it. Only the critics are having problems with it. So it'll be interesting to see how the mass audience connects with it. If the movie bombs,
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either.
No,
I think we're talking 130 million. It's not going to bomb because especially so many critics this time were negative in a weird, at least to me, in a weird way, where it's like I came out of there feeling like I didn't know why a lot of people I had already talked with Kristian about his back and forth with him, and I'm like, hey, the things that he didn't like, I liked, and that's totally cool. But I mean, I think it's just over the top hatred, and in some ways, just too much. I think so. I think that reaction to the audience reading these kinds of over the top criticisms are like, I'm going to go make up my own mind, and I think we're going to see a different kind of audience response on the exit polls.
I agree with you, and I think that, and this is coming from someone that was disappointed with the movie. I think that it's a different scenario with Batman v Superman, because I think that there are more really hardcore fans of Batman v Superman that were like, nope.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me. And I think, and I said this in my review, and by the way, we did a review on Collider that you can check, a non-spoiler that's up there right now, and then we're going to have our spoiler-heavy review that will be up tomorrow, so check that out. But I said this in the review that I think that you can, because you and I, for story points, are pretty much on the same page for a lot of it. Yeah. But you just had more fun than I did. I think that the audience, a lot of the audience, are going to be more on your side of things. They're going to have more fun with this movie, and that's great. That's the difference of opinion that I think is going to actually benefit this movie. I think that the fans of this franchise are actually going to come out and they're going to support it. These characters, I should say, and they're going to support it. It's going to be a different turnout than I think that they got for Batman v Superman.
Can I add that one of the criticisms that's popping up now with these dueling cut type of scenarios, even before the film comes out, is that a lot of the scenes with the Joker have been cut or reduced. And that to me is a bummer because I thought the Joker and Harley Quinn were like strong points. Deadshot was a strong point, but Harley Quinn and the Joker and their relationship was incredible, and I want to see more of that. So to know that there's more of the Joker on the cutting room floor makes me angry. So I hope that they release both cuts when they do whatever kind of Blu-ray release, because they owe it to us,
and
the fans.
One thing I'd like to add is you brought up the idea of the Richard Donner Superman 1 and Superman 2, and he was fired from that project. And it says in that report that David Ayer went with it. So obviously there had to have been some aspect, and I totally agree with you. The studio should have left him alone. I do want to see his cut. I'm very curious to see what more Joker is and what the darker cut of this movie is, and I hope we get to see it on the Blu-ray, the differences. But he must have been okay a little bit with it because he didn't walk off the project like Richard Donner did with Superman.
Well, Richard Donner was like kind of fired. He
got
screwed. He got jacked so hard. And Richard Lester was like kind of like creeping along the whole time.
It was different. It was a different atmosphere.
It was totally. It was like a backstabbing kind of situation. This is not that. So.
All right, what's next?
An unexpected Jedi Knight has emerged during the production of the next Star Wars movie, Rogue One. According to a report from THR, several insiders say that writer-director Tony Gilroy, who is also an uncredited writer on the movie, has been empowered to take the lead on post-production duties, even as director Gareth Edwards remains involved with the project. Gilroy became the driving force behind Rogue One's extensive reshoots and is now said to be supervising the edit with input from Edwards. The report does say that Edwards remains very much involved and is still the face of the movie, with a source from THR saying, "There are not two separate editing rooms. They are all in there with their ideas. Tony is a strong force, but they're all working together." This should come as a no surprise, as Gilroy was also reported very involved with Edwards during the making of Godzilla. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, will hit theaters this December 16th. Schnepp, what do you think about Tony Gilroy leading post-production duties on Rogue One?
Well, we see a lot of these things. We were just literally just talking about Suicide Squad, and there was another cut going on that I don't think Ayers was involved with. I mean, there was another trailer park. People were like cutting this other version of the film without his editorial input, and he cut his own version, and then ultimately they made some kind of compromises within whatever the final cut was. We don't know. But with this, there's one cut, I guess, going on. I don't think there's multiple cuts of Rogue One.
Not yet, anyway.
But yeah, not yet. But I mean, this makes a little more sense because Gareth Edwards was probably making a harder hitting, like Saving Private Star Wars or something very dark, that when they finally saw it, they were like, wow, this doesn't have the fun, this doesn't have that adventure fantasy that all the other Star Wars films, maybe this is just a little bit too dark for a Star Wars film. So they had to make what I would think is a course correction move by saying, look, we need to bring in that other guy that you're friends with from, I had to do a little research. I didn't realize that Gilroy had come in and done a little punch up on the script for Godzilla, came in, did maybe a little second unit, a little editorial. So it's good to know those guys are pals. So it's not like this fight where it's like, you're taking my job. I think it's more that Gareth is like, look, I've worked with this guy before. I trust his judgment. I'm hoping that's it. I'm not on the set. I don't know what it is, but that seems to be what it would be, that, within the DGA rules, in order to stay as a director, you have to be on set and you also have to be in the post house. So we don't really know what the behind the scenes are, but I would guess that it really is Gilroy's just added into put some of that lighthearted Star Wars flavor back into something that could have been just a really downbeat war film for a Star Wars.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, that Gilroy is there, the idea that he's going to be the lightheartedness, because this is the guy that wrote all the Bourne movies, which aren't really lighthearted movies at all, and he also directed Michael Clayton, which is not a lighthearted movie at all either. So it's interesting that he's the one that's going to make it feel more like A New Hope. And I don't know, I would love to hear, Kristian, your thoughts, because you're definitely more, you love Star Wars way more than I do. Do you feel like this is more of there's a problem in this movie, or is this, again, the suits coming in and mucking with the movie?
I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest with you. I think that it's not the tone that they particularly maybe wanted originally. I agree with Schnepp that I think that Gilroy's been rumored to be a part of these reshoots and the editing for like months. It's just coming out now more what his exact role is, but it is encouraging that they've worked together before. Is it concerning that there's so much and we still haven't gotten a full trailer for this movie right now? Yeah, it's concerning. It is. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's a possibility that they are scrambling, but there have been times where those reshoots and someone kind of really piecing things together have worked. I mean, regardless of what you may think about World War Z, that was rumored to be a disaster. It turned out to be very successful, and it turned out to have a pretty good narrative. I think that that could be the case with Rogue One. I don't think that Tony Gilroy is brought in to bring this lighthearted Star Wars thing. I don't at all. I think that he's brought in to tell a more cohesive story. I think that that's going to be what he was brought in to do, because if you look at Godzilla, for me, Godzilla works in the beginning and the end. The middle, to me, does not work at all, but it's mostly because the characters just weren't engaging. Now, I don't know if that's the case for Rogue One. Could be. Maybe they're bringing in Gilroy to do those reshoots, structure stuff.
Who wrote Rogue One? Is McQuarrie, right?
McQuarrie, no. It started with Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta started, and then I think McQuarrie was rumored to do punch-ups.
Right, I heard that.
Yeah,
So-
but Whitta wrote the first draft, I
But
believe.
my guess is literally, I mean, when I say to bring back the fun, I'm talking about add some kind of cantina scene. Add those elements that when you think of Star Wars, you think of like, you definitely think of space battles, you think of droids, you think of like some fun scenes, you think of lightsabers, you think of, there's a bunch of stuff that come with Star Wars. And if you have Rogue One, it's just like dudes like in mud getting shot to death and Darth Vader decapitating people, like violence.
But you know, for me, these Star Wars stories, that's what I want to see. Like the episodes, that's where I want the big battles and the Jedis and this stuff like that. The Star Wars stories, like they seem like these little off tales. That's where I do want to see the real Star Wars, or like the gritty stuff like that. That's where I feel. So to take it back to the episodes, to me, I think for me, it's a step in the wrong direction.
I don't think they go in that direction, because if they were going in that direction, they wouldn't have shown that featurette at Celebration, because that featurette they showed at Celebration still pitches a hardcore war film.
Right.
Yeah.
From everything they show in that, the behind-the-scenes stuff, everything they're showing, the tone of that particular piece was war.
But yeah, but what I'm saying is like why they brought in someone else to redirect it is like the scenes that they showed you Edwards directing is that war type stuff, but they brought in another person who can add another flavor.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying the majority that you're not going to pitch that type of tone still and then pull back completely.
No,
and
I don't
go,
think there's going to be
whoops."
like a cantina scene with, you know, dun, 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 dun,
Jar Jar
dun.
stars in
I'm
the
not
whole
saying
movie.
that's going to happen. I'm
Jar
just
Jar
saying,
murder in the first 5 minutes.
I just think they're going to add a little bit, not levity or lightness,
Yeah.
but just a different tone, so it feels like you're in the Star Wars universe as opposed to like, you know, camcorder following a dude before he gets shot to death in a Star Wars film. So.
All right, what's next?
A couple of weeks ago, news broke that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2 was already planning to take the story in a whole new direction. The script is already written by original author J.K. Rowling, and unless Fantastic Beasts is a massive bomb, the studio is planning to move ahead with the sequel. Warner Brothers has now officially announced that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2 will be released on November 16th, 2018. The story will continue to follow the adventures of Magi zoologist Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne. David Yates, who directed the first Fantastic Beasts movie, will return to helm the second film. As for how the movie will do without its most famous character in Harry Potter remains for the fans to decide when the first film hits theaters this November 18th. Jason, do you believe Warner Brothers has a lot of confidence in the Fantastic Beasts to date a sequel so soon?
Yes. Because I think for them, it's like printing money.
Yep.
There is a lot of love for Harry Potter out there. The new release of that new book, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, that's based on that play in London, that sold like crazy. I think right now they must have some assemblage cut that's pretty close to like 80%, 90% finished. And I guarantee you they've done some test screenings, and they must be getting like amazing positive reaction. But of course, like throw anything in that world, Harry Potter, anything like that, it's going to do crazy. I think the thing is that now they're assured that they're not going to have a Hobbit situation on their hands, that because we don't have Harry Potter in this movie, the movie can still do well. I'm excited for this movie because that's my favorite part of Harry Potter is the world, and the fact to see another layer of the world, I think, excites me. So, heck yeah, bring me 3 more of these. I'm good.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, the fact that you listen to J.K. Rowling talk about it, she knows where it's going. And when she says she knows where it's going, I'm going to tend to believe her. And then, like you mentioned, with the new Harry Potter play that's going on, within 5 to 7 years, you're going to see that movie, and then all the original cast is going to come back, and this franchise will be ending up. It's going to be really smart. There's not a lot of competition in the time that these movies come out in November. A couple big franchise drop in those time periods. This
I
will
think
be
Doctor
one of them.
Strange is going to be its biggest enemy right now.
And it's competing audiences for sure. But I mean, I still
Doctor
think
Strange's wand.
Yeah.
No, he's all hands.
I know. Right?
But I will tell you that I think that this is a good way to bring us back to that world. They have to hook everybody the first time. I think that the second one is inevitable. Even if the first one performs poorly, they're still going to go with it because they can say, oh, maybe we can just kind of improve on the stuff that wasn't good in the first one. But if the second one doesn't do well, then it might be in trouble. But this makes sense.
Impossible for it to do badly.
Right.
It's literally, like you said, printing money. Like when you mentioned they're even using the Harry Potter theme. They got theme parks. Everybody loves Harry Potter. This is just like, oh my God, another part of the world. Like you were saying, this is like a Star Wars story. This is another layer of this universe that J.K. Rowling built, and she's involved. She's writing the screenplay. Yeah, I mean, they're going to do 3 of these and then bring the original Potter back, and he'll be older, and it's just like, it's crazy billions.
And then they're going to eventually, if these do well, which they will, they're going to somehow cross them over.
Totally.
Natasha, were you a big Harry Potter fan?
I was.
Are you excited for this one?
I'm so excited.
Okay.
I just like the music, the world, everything is so interesting. So I don't see how this could fail at all.
All right, well, now it's time for Buy or Sell. Natasha's going to read some more topics in the world of movie news. Myself, Jason Schnepp, either going to buy or sell it. What do we got first?
Okay, talk about a Space Jam 2 has surfaced over the past few years. All right. This past May, reports confirmed development was moving forward with LeBron James attached to star and Star Trek Beyond director Justin Lin in the director's chair. And while it's unclear when filming might begin, the star of the original film is weighing in on who he thinks should pick up the mantle. Michael Jordan, who starred in the 1996 original about a group of animated aliens from another planet who challenge Bugs Bunny and company to a basketball game, weighed in with his thoughts on the sequel, namely who he thinks should take on the lead role. The video comes via Yahoo Sports, where Jordan answered a question from a fan, revealing he'd like to see Clippers star Blake Griffin take on the movie. And though the fans in attendance applauded Jordan's pick, Space Jam 2 is spearheaded by LeBron James, so it seems unlikely Griffin would step in and replace him. At least now we know where Jordan stands. Kristian, buy or sell a Space Jam 2 with Blake Griffin over LeBron James?
Very, very big sell. I love Michael Jordan, one of my favorite players of all time. I've never seen Blake Griffin smile. I think that LeBron James proved that he can be a lot of fun in Trainwreck. I think he would absolutely annihilate this role. I think that this is something he is perfect for. I just wonder if it's a little bit of Jordan going, don't talk about LeBron James anymore. Look at me. I mean, I love Michael Jordan, but he doesn't want. I don't think he's one of those guys that's been very clear. He doesn't like anyone else in the spotlight as talked about as the greatest. And I think that Blake Griffin, to me, great player. I have no idea whether or not the guy can carry a full movie. He does good commercials, but like I said, I've run into the guy a few times. I've seen him at premieres. I've seen him in interviews. He never smiles. He just doesn't seem like he wants to be anywhere. So I think for me, keep LeBron James. That's where you go. Schnepp?
It's okay to be angry, right?
Yeah,
sure. He just never smiles.
Be the villain then.
Yeah, so bring in him. I mean, I've never seen him play soccer or hockey or whatever he does, but LeBron James definitely, he's already cast. Why not? I don't really care about Space Jam 2. I'd rather see them make a heavy metal movie, so this isn't even really in my ballpark, even though it's animation. Cast whoever you want.
This is a major sell for me. I think
by the way, I'm sorry. I sell this.
Sorry. This is a major sell for me as well, because I'm kind of like Schnepp. I mean, I know he plays basketball, but I just don't care about Space Jam 2 as well. I think this is like really reaching for that movie sequel, and I agree with you. I think it's Michael Jordan just trying to create some press around himself. I think LeBron James, if they were going to go with anybody, it could easily carry this movie. I don't think Blake Griffin, as you said, could even. Right. I mean, because this is not even just regular acting. This is acting against nothing. Because he's got to play like cartoon guys, actually like guys in green screen suits with dots all over them, and he's got to pretend that they're giant cartoon monsters. And I don't know if he could pull that off.
Yeah, Michael Jordan didn't work out as a baseball player. I don't think he's going to be a casting agent anytime soon. All right, what's next?
Okay, the Fast and Furious 8 marketing machine that is Vin Diesel's social media keeps on churning. The actor and producer recently shared yet another new tease from the film on his Instagram account, with this one quite notable as it reveals Dame Helen Mirren herself alongside Diesel's Dominic Toretto character. The actress previously mentioned to the press that she really wanted to get behind the wheel of a car. Wow. In the Fast and Furious movie, through her role in Fast 8 is expected to be limited to nothing more than a cameo. Fast 8 also stars Charlize Theron, Tyrese Gibson, Michelle Rodriguez, Ludacris Bridges, Dwayne Johnson, Scott Eastwood, and Natalie Emmanuel. Fast 8 opens in theaters everywhere on April 14th, 2017. Schnepp, buy or sell the first look of Helen Mirren's character in Fast 8?
Getting all cozy with the Diesel. What's going on? I love Helen Mirren. I think she's a great actress. Anything she's in, she brings a spark to it. She's amazing. I want to see her driving some crazy Lamborghini and smashing it, or doing whatever she's going to do. I don't know if she's going to get with it with Vin Diesel in this movie or not, but I'm glad that she's in the film, so I buy it.
I mean, do I buy she's in the film? Sure. I sell the images because it's like there's nothing to him. It's like him. Hey, you ever see my breakdancing video? That's what he's saying.
Why would you not buy that? What if he was like, you want to see my?
Just like his top of his head. It could be his stunt double for all we know. But it's that, and then there's also her on the phone. And he probably just caught her on offset, and they're like, oh, it's a new image from the character. I love that she's in the movie. I love that she's in the movie. Just you're asking me about these images. There's nothing to these images, so I'm selling them. There's not her in a car. There's not her in action. There's nothing to where you see her with the team kind of talking to the team or anything. So there's just nothing there right now. But the next images, I'm sure I'll buy them.
This is a major buy for me because I think that picture is going to allude to a plot detail, and I saw this from my friend Nick Mundy on Twitter. I think this is the beginning of the Vin Diesel Helen Mirren sex scene. I think that needs to happen in this movie. I think we need to flip the dynamic and start, as I'm calling it, the shipping name Velen. Velen hashtag
Nice.
Velen. That's what. So this is a major buy for me. I want to see her behind a fast car, and I want to see her seduce the crap out of Vin Diesel.
There we go.
I get such a laugh sometimes. So yesterday,
It's Cougar Town.
Well, no, yesterday I bought everything. He buys everything today.
Right.
He hates everything.
That's
I love
right.
it.
Ellis, it's called acting.
No, it's the best.
It's called acting.
Kristian hates everything. And yesterday, he likes everything. You can't win. All right, what's next?
In a new report from Entertainment Weekly, Saw franchise executive producer Peter Block has snatched up the rights to Pumpkinhead, the creature feature and dark horror fantasy film from Stan Winston, released back in 1988. The plan now is to reboot and start filming sometime next year. Block certainly has experience spearheading a horror franchise like this because of his experience with Saw. He is also a big fan of the property as well, pointing out that the creature of Pumpkinhead is important, but the complicated story of vengeance is even more so. He said, Pumpkinhead is one of my favorite horror films of the late 80s, early 90s. Stan Winston sits on that Mount Rushmore of iconic filmmakers because of his creature designs, and that was his first directing effort. The creature is great, but the emotional story is wonderful as well. I got the rights to Pumpkinhead and hooked up with a great young writer called Nate Atkins, and we developed our script, which is really solid. A release date for the new Pumpkinhead movie has yet to be set. Jason, buy or sell a reboot to Pumpkinhead?
I'm going to be honest here. I've never seen Pumpkinhead. I've just seen the pictures back here. I'm going to sell this because Saw kind of seems more psychological than the images that I've seen for Pumpkinhead, and I kind of wonder if Pumpkinhead would be better served by somebody who kind of comes from that nature of horror, like a James Gunn or a Sam Raimi. So that's why my sell is. I haven't seen Pumpkinhead. John, I assume you have.
I have seen Pumpkinhead many times. I love Pumpkinhead. Less about Pumpkinhead 2. So I'm going to stick with just Pumpkinhead 1, which had Lance Henriksen, had a really good all-star cast. It is a spooky, mystical, even though it has a giant creature monster in it, it shows up. I would love to see an updated version. I'm sure they'll probably go a lot more CG with this version of Pumpkinhead, but yeah, I buy it. I like the idea of them doing a new Pumpkinhead.
Here we go. You ready? I'm buying it.
What?
I'll tell you why I buy it, because of what you just said. How many remakes have we got or reboots? Friday the 13th, right. Nightmare on Elm Street. All these movies that we know, so with the classic characters, and like Jason said, never seen Pumpkinhead.
Yeah,
I knew Pumpkinhead from growing up, and my friends were big horror fans too. And my friend James Pally had this big picture.
So at the time, Pumpkinhead was a big deal.
And that's a two horror fan.
It was okay. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
right,
the
yeah.
first one did enough to make a sequel, and the sequel didn't do well, so
All right.
they didn't really do.
But
that
what
much more.
really buy about the comments is the love to Stan Winston, to the idea of what Stan Winston did, and to see what they could do, and bringing it into the public's consciousness now could be interesting. It could work. It could be a disaster and be a complete flop. But I like the idea of them trying to do it again by bringing this character that was once popular with the cult following, if you will. They could do that again, bring it more into the mainstream and introduce it to horror fans, because you can do it in a way now that if it pops the right way with the horror audience now, you can have a hit on your hands. So I think it makes sense.
And also the way Stan Winston designed this creature is so that it can actually be a man in suit and look pretty cool.
Well, then
so
I thought they released it on Halloween then.
Oh, well, I hope they do. Yeah. I mean, but I think that's one of the other things is maybe there'll be a good mixture of practical and CG. So I think, Block's got the right attitude. He's wants to honor the memory of Stan Winston and what this Pumpkinhead could be now. So.
I agree. Okay. Now we move to the Wendy cam. Wendy's over there. Wendy's been going through the comments and finding out what they've been saying.
They've been saying a lot about the Suicide Squad test screenings, and a lot of our live viewers agree with you guys on the panel, and saying that there's just too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe the studio should just stop interfering with the director's creativity. Ja Marvel says DC needs to take its time. They have great characters, can tell great stories. Just slow down and let these directors have their own version. Enough with ultimate cuts. The only cut I want is the best cut. And Flame of Udun says, you get an ultimate edition and you get an ultimate edition. By our Cell section about Space Jam 2, so much Cell going on in the live chat room for this. Calling this another unnecessary sequel that is way too late. Andy Gonzalez says, Cell, I'd rather see a Peyton Manning Space Jam sponsored by Papa John's.
Wendy, it's really weird because you look like you're actually here this time. What's going
you mean
on?
I'm not working from home?
No,
I'm not
actually,
stuck in a
you're
closet?
in the studio. It's crazy.
You look healthy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right,
Got
now,
some color.
Moving on. Now it's time for opening this week, brought to you by our friends at AMC. The big release comes out this week. What is it?
I know we're all excited for this, so get ready. 9 Lives is coming out this week. Tom Brand, played by Kevin Spacey, is a billionaire whose workaholic lifestyle takes him away from his loving wife, Laura, and adorable daughter, Rebecca. Needing a present for Rebecca's 11th birthday, Brand buys a seemingly harmless cat from a mysterious pet store. Suddenly, a bizarre turn of events traps poor Tom inside the animal's body. The owner of the business tells him that he has 1 week to reconnect with his family or live out the rest of his days as a cute and furry feline named Mr. Fuzzy Pants.
Oh, God. Yeah, Kristian had to leave for a minute. Mr. Fuzzy Pants was outside crying about some crappy movie that's coming out. What do you think, Jason?
I mean, I think Christopher Walken, like, how can you not say yes to this movie? I mean, yes to never seen it.
All I can really say about Christopher Walken and Kevin Spacey is they were going to be in Superman Lives, and they were going to Christopher Walken was going to play Brainiac, and Spacey was playing Lex Luthor, and they were going to merge together to be Luthiac, and that's what I really still want to see. But I do not want to see this movie.
You know, this movie sucks. It just doesn't look good. I mean, it looks ridiculous.
The trailer is really hard to get through.
Yeah, I had to leave to collect my thoughts because it's just when you see a movie like that, the only way that I'll be happy is if Kevin Spacey does do an impression of Christopher Walken as the cat. Then I'll watch that YouTube video when somebody downloads it. That's it. That's all we got this week. I know you're very excited for it. It's going to make 270.
Kevin Spacey needed a new house, guys.
Yeah.
That's why this movie exists.
The movie will make $270 million this weekend, so go and see it. All right, that's it. That's brought to you by our friends over at AMC Theatres. That movie, yeah. All right, guys. So before we get into,
it's gonna make $9.
Yeah, we're gonna get into Mailbag, and then we're gonna get
words.
into live Twitter questions. So make sure you're submitting those questions, Collider Video, and Natasha's gonna go through those. So make sure you're doing that right now. But we got some business to talk about before we get into Mailbag. If you guys didn't know, there's a tournament right around the corner, and it is the Ultimate Schmodown Movie Trivia Tournament. It's going to be the top 8 contenders from the league, all going up against one another in a matter of 8 weeks. And starting in September, an 8-week tournament, then the winner will play the winner of Dan Murrell and Clark Wolf. Whoever wins that will defend in December against the winner of that tournament. I haven't won a damn singles match since 2014. I am going up against this gentleman right here, Jason Inman. Jason, we're going to play against no smack talk.
No.
How do you feel going into your match against me tomorrow?
Well, I felt solid, and then I saw the internet reactions. The internet thinks that I'm going to lose, but the internet thought I was going to lose against Gray Drake.
Right.
And I beat her.
Right.
So I would say that this is anybody's game. Kristian is a hardcore player. He's not going to be a pushover, but he's not going to knock me out either.
It's going to be a tough
Not
match.
gonna happen.
Listen, if you get superhero movies, I'm in trouble. I don't know. I don't know what else. I mean, I haven't seen.
And if you get Schwarzenegger, you're just going to do like Schwarzenegger the entire way through.
That's
But
right.
I
We'll see.
need to win this to be in that tournament, so I have a little bit of I have some pressure on my back.
Yeah, Schnepp, we're both sitting here.
Right.
Who you got in the match tomorrow?
Hey, man, they're both here. I'd say a draw.
Draw?
How's that non-committal?
All right. Natasha?
I'm I'm gonna have to go with Schnepp. It's a draw.
Bam! We're not picking sides.
Wow.
It's Marvel or DC.
Marvel's both.
All right. So let's see what you guys are saying. Who's going to win? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be Inman? Who's going to play in the tournament? Like I said, that tournament begins in September. A lot of great matches next week. Mance versus Roca 2. Look out for that one.
Bespin.
Following week after that, JTE will be playing for a chance to get into his tournament. And then you got the title match between Dan Murrell and Clark Wolf. So a lot of stuff happening on the Schmodown. All right, now it's time for Mailbag. What do we got?
Okay, Adam B writes, "Hey guys, your show has been a daily ritual for me almost 2 years. Keep up the great work. On a Mailbag, I think it was, episode a few weeks back, you talked about a Back to the Future reboot. In my opinion, I think Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown was so perfect for that role that I literally cannot picture anyone ever playing that character ever again. Never say never, but are there any film roles that you cannot picture ever being portrayed again because the original was perfect in your opinion?"
Yes, Rocky. Never touch it. Don't ever. I don't care if it's 40 years in the future, 50 years in the future. Don't touch it. Rocky. There was a reason why Stallone fought so hard to play the role. He is Rocky. There's no one else in the world that could ever play Rocky. Rambo is someone I think that someone else could play. I wouldn't want to see it happen, but Rocky's one you just don't touch.
What if it's Rocky, but he's an android, and it's Sylvester Stallone's skin mask over the robot's face?
I love that idea.
Okay.
Let's make it tomorrow.
But it could still be Sylvester Stallone.
You say good things.
Hey. Oh.
You know, the interesting thing, I think Michael J. Fox's Marty McFly is just as uncastable, like to replace him. I thought he brought a lot to that role. For me, I'm going to go old school. I think the role that you can never recast is Humphrey Bogart as Rick Blaine in Casablanca.
Okay.
That is so integral to making that movie work, and Humphrey Bogart's performance makes that one of the greatest movies of all time. I never want to see that movie remade, and I never want to see that role recast.
Honestly, I could say, I feel like anything can be recast and any character can be played by another character. It just depends on time. Like you're saying, Casablanca, if they were going to do a Casablanca now, it wouldn't make sense to stay in the 40s when they actually made it.
Sure.
It would be like, do an updated version of Casablanca, then you could recast it. So similarly, I could see the studio saying, let's go the other way and make The Rock be the Doc. You know what I mean? It's like, and people might be like, what? But honestly, it's like you can kind of recast anybody with anybody else as long as it makes sense and where it is. Like Back to the Future, it could be, now if it's taking place now and they go back in time, they're going to the 80s.
Yeah. So
you literally have a completely different movie with Back to the Future, but it's made for people in the 80s and like maybe early 90s. So you're getting that whole crossover thing. So I don't know. I'm not against any kind of recastings.
All right. What's next?
Kyle Marquise writes, "Good morning, Collider movie crew. My question is about Suicide Squad and expectations of Wonder Woman. I know most of you got to see it last night. If Suicide Squad is as bad as early reviews suggest it may be, how much pressure is there now on Wonder Woman? Do you think Wonder Woman can carry even more weight than it was probably intended after 3 very divisive films? Thanks."
What do you think, Jason?
Well, I don't think the early reviews. I don't agree with the early reviews at all. Like I think a lot of them were more negative than what I walked out of that movie. And again, my own opinion, who I work for doesn't matter. I just love that stuff. It's cool. I just like comic books. That's why they hired me. But Wonder Woman, we don't know what this box office is going to be. If Suicide Squad is a box office smash, which I kind of think it's going to be, Wonder Woman is not going to have this pressure on it.
Right.
It's weird now because now, and it's weird that all the DC movies have hit on this. That now there used to be that if a movie made box office, it didn't matter what the critics said about it. Transformers, case in point. But now, like especially in the last year, I found, and the DC movies hit on this. There's now this audience meter and a box office meter. Because Batman v Superman made the box office, but it didn't hit the audience meter. So everybody's like, oh, it's a failure. But it made its box office. And I kind of think that Suicide Squad is going to be the same thing, that it's not going to hit this audience meter, but it's going to make the box office, but everybody will consider it a failure.
There's going to be pressure on Wonder Woman, whether this Suicide Squad is an ultimate hit or not an ultimate hit. There's going to be pressure on Wonder Woman because it's still a young slate in the DC cinematic universe. So of course, and it is the first time she's ever going to be have her own movie on screen. No, I'm not. Linda Carter was never in feature film, so stop yelling at me about Linda Carter. But it's absolutely going to have pressure. Will it have more pressure? This movie's not going to bomb Suicide Squad. It won't. Like I was just saying before, a lot of fans will really enjoy this movie. It will have a sequel. There will be a lot for working for this movie for sure. There's going to be added pressure because you have you have Wonder Woman that is going to. It's a different type of feel. It's your first female-driven movie in the DC Cinematic Universe. So there's pressure regardless, but I don't think it's going to really matter what Suicide Squad does.
Yeah, for myself, once again, Wonder Woman is directed by a completely different person.
Right.
It's not Zack Snyder. It's not David Ayers. It's Patty Jenkins. It's got a different flavor to it. When you watch that trailer, it doesn't feel like Batman v Superman. It doesn't feel like Suicide Squad.
It also has a script by 2 people that have actually written the Wonder Woman comic book.
Yeah, which is also incredibly important. And everyone that I know freaked out. That was my favorite trailer of Comic-Con was Wonder Woman because it was so much fun. I think I probably watched it 10 times. I think Gal Gadot is incredible in the role. I think she's grown as an actress, and she's going to carry that movie and carry that role all the way through to Justice League, which Justice League to me has the most weight on it because Justice League is the continuation of the Batman v Superman story more so than any of these other films. I think Suicide Squad is going to be a massive hit. I think it's going to hit with all of the people who go see it in the theater. I think it's going to, granted, there's a lot of critics who didn't like it. I love the film, so I personally feel like there's too much pressure was put on Suicide Squad, I think, especially to answer for Batman v Superman for whatever reason. So, people probably came in there with like weirder expectations than you would normally go in to see a superhero film. Be that as it may, I think Suicide Squad is going to make a lot of money. I think a lot of the audience members are going to. We'll see what the the outcome is for that. But does Wonder Woman have more pressure to be a hit? I don't think it's more pressure. I think it's more anticipation. If you ask me, it's the 75th anniversary of Wonder Woman right now. It's the time for a female-led superhero film, and that's what Wonder Woman is. From that trailer and everything I've seen, it looks amazing. So I can't wait to see it. So it's not pressure. It's more about anticipation and delivering on that anticipation.
All right, well, now it's time for live Twitter questions. You guys have been submitting some, and Natasha has been looking at Bazinga Guy's tweets, and she's going to read all of them. Here we go.
Bazinga Guy's MIA.
Maybe
what?
All right.
I miss
But Captain
you, Bazinga.
Underpants, whatever his name is.
Okay, Zandic Trainer asks, what director's cut has most improved a film?
There we go. What director's cut has improved a film?
Yes.
I would say Richard Donner for Superman 2, and I'm pretty sure you'd say Blade Runner.
Director's cut, I'd say Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman, the ultimate cut. His actual director's cut that was released is a vast improvement from the theatrical cut. It actually, even though it's longer, it feels shorter, it makes more sense, and actually made me care about the characters. That's how much 30 minutes missing from a movie can do for some people. So that's my
one that stands out to me is Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven.
Because
I remember in the theatrical, it was like kind of jumbled and kind of and it didn't quite flow. Then when I saw the director's cut, like it had all the missing scenes that carry you through that story.
Dude, I'm glad you said that because that movie, when it came out, it was like incomprehensible. It was like a 90-minute jumbled mess. When you see the director's cut, which is almost an hour and a half longer.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour movie.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful film. I highly recommend that. It's a good call.
All right, what's next?
Okay, A. Clay asks, if you could travel back in time and prevent one movie from bombing, what would it be? For me, it's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, that's a good call.
Can I also add Daredevil, the director's cut from 2003?
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, that actually, and I didn't hate it when it first came out, but the director's cut adds a lot more. Sorry, can't keep thinking about those director's cuts. What's it?
Someone actually brought up a good director's cut, also Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah. I know he just brought it up, but I'm saying, I know he just brought it up. I know he brought it up. But the rest of it, I know he brought it up.
Do you need to leave again?
No, I know you brought it up. I'm saying that the rest of the audience is agreeing.
With it.
They're agreeing, and I know he just went on a whole time.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, and by the way, and Schnepp, there's a. Forget. All right.
So the question.
So what's the question?
What's the question?
Yeah.
The question was, if you could travel back in time and prevent one movie from bombing, what would it be?
Kingdom of Heaven.
Back to the Future.
I think my choice would be Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah.
I say I'd go travel back in time and make Blade Runner not bomb because that bombed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do that. You just bring a whole bunch of cash with you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it'd be Dread.
I buy 70,000
Dread.
tickets.
Dread would be the one.
Actually, you know, I feel so bad about Dread because I waited till the very last day and I saw it in 3D and it was leaving theaters, and then I was like, everyone must go see this movie. It was like, but it was too late. So
yeah. Okay. Have you guys ever seen Kingdom of Heaven? All right. What's next?
Okay, Tony Morrow says this
Tony Morrow? Bam!
He said, says, this year's summer movie season has been very disappointing. So what, in your guys' opinion, has been the worst movie of the summer?
Hey, Tony Moro and your dog, we love you. What's going on?
This is Tony Ravioli. You
Hey.
say, you listen, you take that dog, you say, hey, it's a
Hey,
nice
you make
dog.
sure you treat that dog right, okay? It's a little creature.
Hey. What has been the worst movie of the summer?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got to think about it. I'm sure I'm going to... I would have to say Independence Day, too. That was garbage.
You can't beat Independence Day.
Yeah, that's a hard one to beat. I was trying to think. I thought there were a couple, but that was pure garbage. When the Siri orb showed up, I was like, what is this movie?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right, last one.
Okay, Michael Beltran asks, what do you think should be the cutoff point for a film to be ready for release? Episode 7 and Spectre were still being worked on weeks before release.
I'm going to let you answer. I mean, it could be the day before
Yeah, the
release.
day before, dude. There's no cutoff point. A movie is ripped out of your hands when you're working on it. There's never a day that you're not thinking about fixing it or changing certain things. So up until and that's why we have digital. Digital makes it so much easier. It's like, oh, we finally finished it. Oh, it's airing in 1 hour. You can work up to the very last second before it's released. In fact, nowadays you could probably tinker with the film and keep changing it from 1 week to the other. No one would know. You'd be like, that scene wasn't in there last week. I know we totally added it because it's digital. So yeah, you really, like I said, it's torn away from you. Just like any project that you're working on, you can always make it better. So up until the very last minute.
I actually like your idea of like tinkering with it as the weeks go by, because it kind of reminds me of back in the 80s when they would air the original Star Wars movies on ABC. They would like add in they did that to Superman the movie. They would add in scenes that we would see on network TV that were not on the VHS. Or like that. So yeah, right up to the last second.
Reminds me of times when you used to add in scenes that you never used to see.
Yeah.
All right,
like
guys.
Kingdom of Heaven.
That is it. That is our show
Dude,
for today.
wait a sec. You know, there's this awesome movie that Ridley Scott directed, and then it was like cut
Legend?
up really weird. Wasn't Legend.
Oh.
Wasn't Black Rain. It was called Kingdom of Heaven.
It has a director's cut, right?
There is a director's cut that's
Interesting.
out that's like way longer.
All right, well, if my recall is anything like that, Inman for the win. Okay, guys, I'd like to thank everybody today for joining us. First, my opponent tomorrow in the Movie Trivia Schmodown, Jason Justice Inman. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Jawin, Jawiin, also on DCL Access. And then I have a podcast called Geek History Lesson where I talk about geeky stuff if you want to hear that on iTunes.
Well, she's the geekiest of them all. It is Wendy Lee over on the Wendy Cam, the brand new spanking Wendy Cam. Wendy, where can they find you? Nice. Yeah, Wendy dancing.
You can find me
You
on
look like
Twitter,
a villain
Instagram,
I've seen in a
and
movie
Snapchat
recently.
at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Sit next to me, it is Jon Schnepp. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp, and watching a bunch of movies with director's cut stuff going on.
Perfect. And Natasha Martinez, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaLexis_.
Now, for me, you can find me Twitter and Instagram at Kristian Harloff. And once again, the Movie Trivia Schmodown, Ultimate Schmodown tournament is coming up right around the corner. Make sure you're watching. We got a ton of main event matches coming up the next couple weeks. And then starting in September, we're going to twice a week. The Team League will start up in September. Those will air on Tuesdays. The singles matches will air on Fridays. It's all coming up. And I can announce that Team Heroes, Jon Schnepp and Rob Burnett, will be going up against Clark Wolf and Mark Riley. Don't have a date for it yet, but it's coming up. So look
Coming
all
for
that
you,
stuff.
Wolves.
Look for all that stuff, and then we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.